You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Body and Soul Gym in the heart of Talpiot. Great machines, excellent staff, and wonderful classes such as Pilates, yoga, and kickboxing. Give them a call at 02-678-8861. Once again, that's 02-678-8861. www.body-soul.co.il. Once again, that's www.body-soul.co.il. That's Body and Soul in the heart of Talpiot, which is great for your body and your soul.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed Frequent Flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Schutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Terry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 suspension and bodyweight training system. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.IsraelGym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJ Venom, DJing parties throughout Israel, birthday parties, weddings, club events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and much more. You pick the type of music and DJ Venom will turn your event into the party of the year. Available Sunday through Thursday. Call 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. That's 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. Book your party today. That's DJ Venom.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
From the ISR studios in Jerusalem, Israel, our nation's capital, it's Louis Live! Now your host, me, and Raphael Geller. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for listening to Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com. Once again, check out our store by clicking on the store tab on IsraelSportsRadio.com. Great items there. Candle holders, t-shirts, hats, food, books, all types of great stuff there. We have a great show today, last day of the week, Thursday here in the Holy Land. It's 5 o'clock local time, and we're going to end the week off right. A lot of great stories in sports. Game one of the NHL Finals last night. Kings get the victory in overtime. Kind of a sloppy game, but the Kings are able to beat Brodeur in overtime, and they go up 1-0 in the series. Los Angeles red hot right now. They've only lost 2 games in the postseason, and the Devils lose home ice advantage. Not necessarily that home ice means so much, but they don't have it at this point. That belongs to the Los Angeles Kings. And Game 2, I believe, is tomorrow night. And also a great game in the NBA and the association between the Heat and the Celtics. It goes to overtime. Rondo scores 44, but it's in the losing effort as the C's go down 2-0 to the Miami Heat. And the Heat are rolling right now. Spurs up 2-0, Heat up 2-0. And now the series will go to the lower seeds' home court, as we'll see Game 3 in Oklahoma City tonight, Game 3 in Boston tomorrow night against the Heat. A long way to go, but certainly in the driver's seat are the Heat, and the Spurs very well could see that matchup of the 1 seed versus the 2 seed. Actually, it's very rare to have 2 1 seeds in the NBA Finals. If you look at the history, it usually doesn't happen. It's also rare not to have at least 1 seed. So the plus the 2-0 lead, mathematics, odds, all that good stuff indicates we're going to have a Spurs Heat series. But the Celtics and the Thunder will have something to say about that. We're going to get things started by dialing up our first guest. Raphael, tell us a little bit about him.
Our first guest's name is Eitan Shander. He's from Philadelphia. He works for Sirius XM as well as working for 96.5 The Fanatic, which is the #1 sports radio talk show in the United States of America. Or, excuse me, not in the United States of America, in Philadelphia. And we're going to talk a lot of stuff with him, a lot of Philadelphia sports, and we're going to talk a lot about some things going around. As I already mentioned, some interesting stuff last night with the lottery. Very controversial stuff there. Right.
It was weird because basically the Hornets are owned by the NBA, and yet they got the #1 pick last night, and there's enough conspiracy talk as there is with, I thought it was going to go to Michael Jordan. He could certainly use it in Charlotte, but as I thought, Michael got
huge blow to the Bobcats. So you could tell
they were really counting on that.
I was watching the what would you call it? I guess the lottery on ESPN last night, and there's the look on Rich Chow's face, the GM of the Bobcats, when he realized that they were the second pick was, oh man, we're in trouble. And the look on I believe Coach Monty of the Hornets was, oh my God, I can't believe we got the first pick. And of course, Tom Benson, the owner of the Saints, is the new owner of the Hornets. He was also there with his wife, and he was pumped just because let's think about the summer he's had. Oh my God, with the Saints and all that stuff. So you kind of got to feel good for him because, everything going on with the Saints and the bounty and the this and his coach suspended for the year and then Fajita, all this stuff going on, and finally things work out for him. They got the #1 pick. They interviewed Anthony Davis right after that. You could tell he was very excited about coming to New Orleans, which has some good young players. Eric Gordon from Indiana, got to say. We're going to dial up our guest right now, Eitan Shander.
Yeah, Anthony Davis, this is very much a top-heavy draft. Anthony Davis, the consensus #1 pick. After that, I don't know if there's a lot of good players in the draft. I think you have one great player.
There's some good players. Well, actually,
but you have one great player and a few good ones.
Right. We'll be discussing that next week. We're gonna have a lot of NBA draft guys on the show, so look out for that.
So
Jason Blesnick, our man from NBADraftChat.com.
Hello.
Hi, Eitan. This is Ari Louis. You're live on IsraelSportsRadio.com. How you doing out there?
I'm doing great. How are you doing today?
We're doing great. It's great to have you on the program, and pleasure to speak with. I'm Ari Louis. I'm Ari Louis, my co-host Raphael Geller. Raphael would like to start. Go ahead.
Hey, Ton. Thank you so much for joining us.
My pleasure. Really, anytime. Happy to do it.
I wanna start off and talk to you about the Phillies. We've been talking about them all season. My boy Roy Halladay, I'm a huge Blue Jay fan. Out for 6 to 8 weeks. Very tough loss for a team that's been struggling, but at the same time still in the hunt. I want you to talk about how is this team still, 3-4 games out when they've had their whole infield injured pretty much, and Jimmy Rollins hasn't been playing at the level that he should be playing.
Well, two things. Pitching, one, and I know it's not been the season that everybody's expected from a Roy Halladay before the injury, but Cole Hamels has been stellar. And Cliff Lee, although he still hasn't had a win, which is amazing, he has been absolutely outstanding as well. His numbers are really good. So when you've got when 3 days in a 5-day set, when you can throw out Halliday, Lee, and Hamels, you're always going to be in the game. You're always going to be in a good situation. And you see, even the games that they've lost early on, a lot of them have been closer games, lower scoring games where they simply haven't been able to manufacture runs. And that goes to the point you made about Jimmy Rollins with a slow start and guys like Ryan Howard, Chase Utley not there because of injury. Hunter Pence has had his moments, but he's also had some frustrating moments at the plate. Same thing with Shane Victorino. I tell you, if there was one guy that I would look to that's besides the pitchers that's keeping this team above water, it's Carlos Ruiz, Chooch, as everybody calls him here, the little train.
Right.
He has been he's been a godsend. I mean, the guy has been outstanding. He's been able to hit anywhere they put him in the lineup. Now he's hitting cleanup simply because there's nobody else that can do it. He has been outstanding, and when you have a guy like that who can get timely hits, even though the other guys can't, and he gets a timely hit in the 7th inning, 8th inning, 9th inning, that can change a game, even if the majority of it's going against you. So those 3 pitchers are the big thing, and Carlos Ruiz has been absolutely a gem here.
Right, and yeah, that's a great point. We've been hearing some reports that Ryan Howard is down in spring training, wherever that is, Florida or Arizona, trying to get everything back to normal. He had a couple of setbacks with that torn Achilles. That's such a horrible thing to see, I'm sure for a Philly fan, to see your leader and your favorite player get injured in the playoffs. I remember when that happened to Wes Welker back in last week of the year, a couple of years ago, as a huge Patriots fan, just seeing him go down and know he was going to be out for the playoffs. And at the time, they thought he'd be out for the rest of the season. He made a miraculous comeback and came back at the start of the season. But it must be tough. So could you talk about what that was like when you saw him get injured in the playoffs?
Oh, it was devastating. And you have to remember that this was the final round of the playoffs of their season. And every year since 2008 that the Phillies have won the World Series, and then even the next year where they lost to the Yankees in the World Series, and rightfully so, expectations here for this team are World Series or bust. And it's not just a typical Philadelphia fan that says, I want a championship or the season's a failure. This is a realistic expectation that this team should be competing for a World Series. So when you have Ryan Howard making the last out, something that he did a year ago before that, and that kind of frustrates you. But then you see, as you said, the leader, as you see a guy who is the stat man on that team go down the way in which he did. We knew this wasn't going to be a 3-month injury. We knew this was going to be a long time. And I think you kind of remember that sight of him just collapsing at the end of last year to end the season every time his name gets brought up. So it's kind of like, it's kind of like salt in the wounds, guys, where you have to deal with the bad news that, Ryan Howard is still a month away, if that, best case scenario from returning. And then, of course, it brings back all the bad memories of him going down in the injury. So it was tough, and I think the city is still recovering. It's a different dynamic with Chase Utley, who's a crowd favorite here in Philly, but he's been banged up the past couple of years, and I think it's expected. With Ryan Howard, there is a sense of this team is nowhere near where they should be without Ryan Howard helping.
Right, and it's really crazy though, looking at this division. It's very similar this year to the AL East. The last place team could be in first place in 2 weeks. The first place team could be in last week, vice versa. So can you touch up on that? Are the Phillies, despite all the injuries, they're still in the game. They still have a shot, not just to win a wild card, but to win a division. And let's say they go on a 10-game winning streak, maybe get some space from the other teams. I know the Braves have been struggling, really struggling. Miami's they win one night and lose the next night. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, here's the thing. You're right, and I will not count the Phillies out until they're eliminated. The addition of the second wild card is going to help a team like the Phillies. Ironically, the second wild card, I think, was created to help a team like the Nationals last year, who was good enough to make the playoffs, but simply because they played in a better division. And now you see the irony coming back that it's actually going to help the Phillies. Here's the thing with the NL East, at least how I see it, and we can start top down. The Nationals are for real. guys. This
Right.
team is definitely for real. They've got young talent that's only getting better, which is scary. They've got a good mix of veterans. The addition of Gio Gonzalez is arguably the best free agent trade transaction that was made in the offseason, the way he's paying off. I don't expect the Nationals to just go into a major slump. I don't expect that to happen. I expect the Nationals to be 1-2 throughout the rest of the season. The Braves, I thought, were the clear-cut favorite, and I had the Nationals too. I actually had the Phillies 3 at the beginning of the year. The Braves, I thought, were the clear-cut favorite. There was one little dynamic, fellas, that I looked at that I was kind of interesting to see how it would play out. Last year, you had a first-year manager, and he was there on the bench during one of the biggest historical collapses in the regular season, which prevented them from making the playoffs. As you guys know, the Cardinals made it and they won it, but the Braves had that lead and lost it late in the year, 1 month. And I was thinking to myself, well, how is this manager now in his second year? How is this team going to bounce back? Because Chipper Jones is hurt. You don't really have that veteran leadership. I don't know what to make of this Braves team. The fact that they lost, 8 straight before winning, that's a pretty telltale sign for me that you can't count on them to be this consistent. Listen, I would love the Mets to be up at the top of the division. I think the Mets would be a great story. It's great for baseball when the Mets are good, when a New York team is good. I don't know. I can't trust the Mets. You know, that's not safe money to say that they're going to be around because they don't have enough talent 1 through 9 in their lineup, 1 through 8 in their lineup, and they really don't have enough talent 1 through 5 in their rotation to be consistent. And you guys hit it up with the Marlins. I mean, listen, the speaking of inconsistency, it's the Marlins. The only thing I'll say about the Marlins, guys, is they do have enough talent. If for whatever reason, and they've got a manager who's won, if for whatever reason they pull it together, that team can be scary, not only in the NL East, but the entire National League, because they've got enough talent, pitching staff, hitting-wise, and in the field. It's just, for some reason, it's just not working out. And then you've got the Phillies, which, again, you know, I thought last year, just get them in the postseason. When you've got Halladay, Lee, and Hamels, you're good in any postseason. And they slapped the Cardinals came out and just ran through them. And Chris Carpenter threw a gem in that Game 5 last year to shut the Phillies down. So I would say right now the biggest wild cards in this division are the Phillies and the Marlins, only because the Phillies get healthy and they're back where they were last year. The Marlins put it together, and I think they're better than any team in the NL East.
Absolutely. I mean, that was a great point. The Marlins, really one of their issues this year, I think it's been Josh Johnson, the guy who really was supposed to be their leader, their clear-cut number one, their ace, right after Burley. Burley was going to be number 2. Has really struggled this year, but he's a guy who can turn things around. Like you said, it's still early. And you're right. I mean, this Marlins team is very, very, very talented, very young. Heath Bell has really struggled, but he started to, I think.
Oh, yeah, he's been terrible. You're right on Johnson. That's a good point, and shame on me for not bringing that up. A lot of people in the beginning of the year picked the Marlins to win that division solely on the strength that Johnson would win 15 to 17 games, if not have a chance to win 20. You're dead on that. Great to bring that up.
Right, and we'll see what happens there. Really, with the Braves, you look at the team. It's an interesting team in a way where you look at the lineup and Brian McCann's there. He's been there now. It seems like a long time. He's always an all-star, but he's not that flashy. He's not a superstar type of guy. Chipper, I love Chipper, but you know he's old. He's old, and it doesn't. If you look at, as you mentioned, if you look at the Phillies, you look at the Marlins. There's much more star power on those teams than on the Braves. I mean, the Braves have a lot of great young players in the pitching staff. Tommy Hanson, who had a lot of hype. And then, of course, I'm blanking on the name. Oh, of course, Jason Hayward. He, 21, 22 years old. And then, but at the same time, guys like Dan Ugla and Eric Hinsky, they're well known around the league, but are they stars? Are they guys that can really pull it together? I think that's the issue, with this Braves team. What do you think?
I agree. I do. And there is something. Listen, look at the number. I don't have it in front of me, but if you have the time, check the numbers this year of the Braves when Chipper Jones is in that lineup. I mean, it's night and day. It's astronomical how good they are when Chipper Jones is in that lineup. And I think that it's not just the fact that Chipper Jones is a hell of a ball player. I think that you have veteran leadership. You're right that you do have a mixture of young guys and also veterans that aren't necessarily take over the locker room type leaders. Doing this job, guys, I never undervalue the impact that somebody can make in a locker room, even if he's like a borderline player. You have a guy that's been in the league, in any league, doesn't matter what professional league, he's been in the league 10, 12 years, and you have maybe deteriorating skills, but you know that he's a take-over-the-locker-room guy, he's won before, he's got the credentials and the resume. That goes a long ways, especially when you're in a slump and you need to pull out of it and you have somebody that can kind of get you back there. Chipper's that guy. I don't think anybody else on that team is that guy, and especially not the second-year manager, whose first year, as I said before, was overseeing one of the biggest historical collapses in baseball history.
Right, and I mean, yeah, and I believe their manager came from the Marlins. Right? Yes. Okay.
There was a whole issue. There was a whole issue that came out of there. And I mean, first year with the Braves. I'm saying, like, this is his first. It's a new team. It's a new organization. Whenever you come in as a new coach, you deal with players who have been with that team for a while. I don't know how much you guys are following what's going on with the LA Lakers and Mike Brown, but that was a big issue this year. Was you had guys that were under Phil Jackson and have won, and then you have a new coach coming in saying, "Well, this is how I'm going to do it." It wasn't working. All the veteran players are looking around like, hey, wait a second. This isn't working. We've seen it work another way by a guy who's won, and then you have mutiny and you have internal conflict. It's not that point yet with the Braves, don't get me wrong, but that's why I bring it up as far as first year with the Braves.
Right, and we'll see what happens there. But back to the Nationals before we talk about something real quick, because we have a special guest coming on in 12 minutes. I want to talk about him with you because I'm sure you'll know a lot about him. But the Nationals, just to talk about them, did anyone think that Gonzalez was going to be this good? I mean, he was great with the A's last year. We actually had the pleasure of interviewing the owner of the A's a couple weeks ago, which was an amazing opportunity. And we talked about Billy Beane and all the stuff he's done. And I love Billy Beane, but it's kind of scary to think that Billy Beane got rid of this guy. I know Gonzalez, I think, is getting paid bigger money than probably the A's would have wanted to pay him. But at the same time, this guy's on pace to win the Cy Young. So you got to kind of feel bad for Billy Beane in Oakland for getting rid of him so easily.
Yeah, but he had a movie made out of him, so he's all right, right?
That's true.
He's Hollywood now.
Right. The next thing I want to talk to you about, we have a very special guest, as I mentioned, in 12 minutes, 10:30 local time. We have Zach Rosen from the Penn Quakers coming on. Hopefully,
is that right?
Yeah, we're very excited. Hopefully, a future NBA player. If not, we'll gladly accept him here in Maccabi Tel Aviv. That is. I know that you're in the media in Philly. You do stuff for Sirius XM as well, or Sirius Satellite Radio. Excuse me. And I know that you've probably gone maybe to see his games or cover Zach. I know he's very, very popular in the Philadelphia region because, University of Penn, and of course, I saw a picture with him and Allen Iverson the other day when AI was at the 76ers game. So could you tell us a little bit of what you are expecting from Zach in the NBA if he makes NBA or in Israel or in the EuroLeague or anywhere? What are your thoughts on Zach Rosen?
Well, here's the thing. I'll say this first up. I have never met him, and I don't know the kid, but I know that there's a lot of buzz about him. And I'll say this. You know that you're good. You know that you're a legit player. I don't mean like legit college player. I mean, you know that you're a legit prospect to do things either in the NBA or pro leagues in Europe or in Israel, wherever it may be. If the buzz about you in Philly is you playing at Penn. And I really mean that. Listen, we love Penn. We love our Quakers, don't get me wrong, but with Villanova, with St. Joe's, with Temple, with the 76ers who have had a resurgence, unfortunately Penn doesn't fall too high up on the hierarchy, but the buzz for Rosen has been, tremendous. And I think that, you'll see that because people have made it out and people have made it a point to focus on what he's doing. I don't know enough as far as to be able to scout him or anything like that, but I will say this, that the people that I've talked to about him believe that he has, the capabilities of playing at the next level. I mean, I haven't heard much about the NBA, but then again, that's not a bad thing per se. You come out of school and there are plenty of people who have been able to play in Europe or overseas, in Israel, Turkey, wherever it may be, Greece, and been able to come right over a year later. So I wouldn't exclude it or discount it right away to say that if he's not drafted per se, then that's it for his NBA career. But I mean, a lot of people are up for him, you know, and that's big. And again, you know, Philadelphia is a huge basketball city when there's good basketball here, and that says a lot that he's on everybody's radar. Not just a blip, but you know, he's big on everybody's radar. It's a good fit for you guys. I'm sure you'll enjoy him.
Yeah, and as you mentioned, Philly with Temple, who's been very successful. St. Joe's had Delonte West and Jameer Nelson a couple years ago. So you're right. When someone from Penn makes that buzz, it's very exciting.
All right,
Oh, yeah, no, it's huge. I'm sorry.
Oh, no, sorry. I just wanted to sorry, go ahead and continue. Then we'll go to the NBA.
No. I was going to concur, that's all.
Oh, okay.
That's all.
Well, I got to get to the NBA with you because this whole story of the Hornets getting the number one pick. Now, I've been to conspiracy theories as much as anyone. I find them fascinating. I'm a crazy guy, and it's great that we can express ourselves and talk about our craziness. But I don't know how crazy this is about a conspiracy. A lot of the owners kind of saying anonymously, if you will, that there was something a little fishy about it. I think the Hornets had a 13% chance. If you go through a lot of different facts that the team hasn't been officially sold yet, so the NBA owns them. They can get a higher value by having the number one pick. What are your thoughts about a potential conspiracy set up by David Stern and company to give the Hornets the number one pick?
Well, here's the thing, guys. I would be more than happy to, you know, dive into plenty of conspiracy theories that I have about sports and the world beyond. I honestly think that the only conspiracy that truly works is the one in which we don't even talk about. You know, if it's so overt like this one, I just can't think. Listen, Stern is a very smart guy, very shrewd businessman. I don't agree with everything he does, but I respect him as a very talented commissioner. Nobody is dumb enough to say, hey, let's fix it and find a way to get the Hornets the top pick and then not have any type of PR or not have any type of reasoning or nothing like that. Just basically throw it out there and leave it for guys like you and I to talk about it. I mean, basically, long story short for me is no way is that a conspiracy. I've talked to people who have been in that back room, who have covered teams. They do let select media for the teams that are involved, let's say, in the back room there. There's no way. There's just no way I think that they can fix it. And again, I mean, my biggest thing on conspiracies are the ones in which, you know, we don't even realize are happening. You know, that's how you really con somebody. I don't think that the NBA fans were conned by David Stern here because of this. I will say this though. I will say this. To be fair, although I completely discount any notion of any type of conspiracy, I do accept that it's heightened. That suspicion is heightened tremendously, significantly when you have the team that's technically still owned by the NBA winning that top pick. It does raise suspicion. I just don't, you know, it's just one of those things. And Tom Benson, you know, the owner of the Saints, he's standing by, and he is, from what all I hear, going to buy the Hornets. It's just a matter of getting it through and all that. So it's not like necessarily the NBA needed to entice Benson or anybody else and say, ha, now you can really spend money and buy this team because you've got the top pick. I don't know. You know, I don't know. Anthony Davis, we knew was going to go number one anyway, so it really didn't matter who got him.
Well, it's a great point, Eitan, you're making, because really the top conspiracies are ones we don't know about. I like that a lot. I think that makes sense. I think if it's out there, then it's not such a hidden thing. So good point there. And yes, maybe it's just kind of a weird coincidence. Another thing I want to get to in the NBA is Michael Jordan tells a good friend of his, Patrick Ewing, he's not in the job with the Bobcats, and the Bobcats had such a disastrous season last year. Does anyone want to coach this team? I mean, who would want to? Maybe you got to give this to Ewing because I don't know who else would take this job.
Yeah, I think whoever takes the job needs to have a really good personal relationship with Michael Jordan. I don't think that the Bobcats were that bad. Now, you want to talk about conspiracy theories. I'll entertain this one more so than I would the Hornets getting the top pick. I don't think the Bobcats were that bad on purpose. By accident. I think that you look at some moves that were made and you look at the roster in which they went to battle with, I believe that was calculated more than it was just by accident or just by circumstance of salary cap. Not to say that they went out there to lose, you know, as most worst winning percentage in, NBA history. I don't think that was the goal, but the goal was to be bad. The goal was to compete for exactly what they were doing, not to compete for a championship, but to compete for the lottery. I think the next coach who comes in here needs to have two things. One, a strong relationship with Michael Jordan. Now, that could be like a peer relationship, the type of relationship that Patrick Ewing has had. It could be somebody older that maybe Jordan has had as a coach or familiar with as an assistant coach, somebody who maybe even served, not as a mentor to Jordan, but somebody who served as a coach or authority figure in that regard, assistant coach or coach, who's now ready to take over there, or somebody who's maybe been a GM that can step in, somebody like that. And also another thing, too, is they need to be able to develop talent and find a way to develop talent. I don't think the Bobcats right now are ready to say, okay, you draft a kid or you trade for a guy and automatically you're competing against the Heat or the Bulls. But at the same time, they need to be able to develop young, good talent and do that in 3 years, let's say. So, you can't bring in a hard ass who's going to turn people off and just get in their faces and bury him. You got to bring somebody in who's a player's coach in the sense that they can relate to young kids and develop them and get the most out of them. That would be it. Those would be my two big things, because you can't butt heads with Michael Jordan by any means, and you also need to have a close enough relationship with Jordan that you can tell him that he's wrong and say, no, you disagree and that you have to go a different way. So I think that's the biggest.
Yeah, I agree with you there. It's got to be, you got to get in MJ's good graces, if you will. So whoever the new coach is going to have to do that. All right, Eitan, last question before we let you go. I want to get into the Eastern Conference Finals. Celtics and the Heat. Rondo scores 44 in the overtime loss. I almost feel like if the Celtics were blown out or lost by 10 points, it might be a little easier. They probably played their best game they have, I think, against the Heat and still lost. So is there any chance, I don't know if the Celtics can get a game or two. What do you think happens the rest of the way in the Eastern Conference Finals?
Well, after watching Boston in the 7-game series with the 76ers, I went out and honestly predicted that the Heat would sweep. And I knew that the Heat didn't have Bosh, but I thought that the Heat had to look really good out in the open court without Bosh. Something that I didn't think would happen, but it looked great. And they look great. And that's really a detriment to the Celtics, who can't defend consistently out there on the open floor. So I don't know if maybe they get one right now, because they did show something. And you really see how good Rondo is across the board. I mean, the 44 points was an explosion, but he does a lot of other things and really controls the game. But he's the only one that I think that shows up. And I know, listen, Garnett's a Hall of Famer. Paul Pierce is a Hall of Famer. Ray Allen, I don't know, should be, but you never know. These guys are all solidified with their resume, but this year I see them take quarters off. I saw them take a game or two off in the 76ers series. That, to me, is not about saving energy. That, to me, is you're defeated and you're on fumes. And, it's kind of like when your gas tank is empty and you know that your car could stop at any minute, so you don't accelerate. You take your foot off when you're going downhill. You try to save as much gas as you can, but you know it's inevitable. This is what we're seeing right here with the Celtics team. So I was really disappointed with how they played against the 76ers and almost kind of thought it was a little insulting that they would just take so much time off. And you just see guys taking quarters off and halves off. I thought that the Heat would run through them. So I'm not shocked by any means. I'm not shocked.
Okay, so you had a sweep. You thought it'd be a sweep, maybe a game or two. I tend to agree. I had Heat in 5. I think it'll end up be that, but I also wouldn't be surprised by a sweep as well. All right, Eitan, we have to run. We certainly appreciate your time on Louis Live. It was a lot of fun, and we'd love to do it again in the future.
Anytime, please. I'd be happy to come over with you guys. It was my pleasure.
Thanks, Eitan.
Thanks,
we
Eitan.
appreciate it.
Really appreciate it. Be well out there.
You got it, guys.
All right. All right, that was Eitan Chandler, who is...
2-minute commercial, Ari?
Yes, we'll take a 2-minute commercial. Of course, that was Eitan Chandler, who hosts out at the Fanatic 97.5 Philadelphia, one of the biggest, the biggest sports radio station out there, probably WFAN #1 and the Fan #2. So what we're going to do is take a 2-minute break. And
actually, we're going to take a 5-minute break because we just got a message from Zach to call him at 10:45. So we will take a 5-minute break.
Oh, okay. All right, fair enough. So we're going to take this break here, and... again, want to remind everyone to go to the store by clicking on the store tab of IsraelSportsRadio.com. You can get great items, T-shirts, hats, candlesticks, books, and food, all that great stuff there. You're listening to Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Body and Soul Gym in the heart of Talpiot. Great machines, excellent staff, and wonderful classes such as Pilates, yoga, and kickboxing. Give them a call at 02-678-8861. Once again, that's 02-678-8861. www.body-soul.co.il. Once again, that's www.body-soul.co.il. That's Body and Soul in the heart of Talpiot, which is great for your body and your soul.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed Frequent Flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Shutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Harry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 suspension and bodyweight training system. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.IsraelGym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
DJ Venom. DJ Venom. DJ Venom. DJing parties throughout Israel. Birthday parties, weddings, club events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and much more. You pick the type of music, and DJ Venom will turn your event into the party of the year. Available Sunday through Thursday. Call 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. That's 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. Book your party today. That's DJ Venom.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back here, Ari Louis live. Our thanks again to Eitan Chandler for coming on the program. He, of course, hosts a show at 97.5, The Fanatic, out in Philadelphia and Sirius as well. Let's talk for a few minutes before we bring on Zach Rosen, who's the 2012 Ivy League Player of the Year. Celtics and Heat. Rondo goes for 44 in the losing effort. And as I always said with Kobe Bryant, when he scores over 40, generally the Lakers in trouble. When you have a point guard that leads the league in assists and he's scoring 44, that generally does spell trouble, believe it or not. And it did for the Celtics as they lose. And just a heartbreaker, I think a big morale lower boost, if you will. There's morality boost. This is the other way. And they'll go back to Boston, maybe pick up a game there, but I think 5 games tops for the series.
Yeah, absolutely. They were dominating the game in the third quarter. Rondo was really playing lights out, made all the shots he usually doesn't make. I think at one point made 5, 6, 7, 8 shots in a row, jumpers that Paul Pierce usually makes on the team. I believe he got, close to a triple-double, or did get a triple-double, something along those lines. An amazing effort by him. It just didn't have enough help from his friends. Brandon Bass was supposed to have a better game. Avery Bradley not playing really hurts his team. He was kind of the X factor. KG and Paul Pierce are starting to look old. The series is over, in my opinion, 2-0. The Celtics, might win 1 or maybe 2, but I'm saying in 5 or 6. It's obvious the Heat are ready for the Spurs. We've been saying that for a while on the show. And that's going to be, I think, one of the most interesting finals of all time, just because if LeBron can win, suddenly all the hate will go away immediately, because at that point the Spurs could have won 22, 23 in a row, and if he can snap that streak, he'll get a lot of love from the media.
You realize the first time LeBron James was in the NBA Finals was against the Spurs in 2007.
Sweep, right?
It was a sweep. Tony Parker was the Finals MVP, by the way, not Tim Duncan.
Was that 07? All right.
2007, yes. So I feel like the trend was a little different. I thought that back then the Cavs were the hotter team because they beat the Pistons, and LeBron had that great Game 5. It's going to be, and again, it's a long way before we get to the NBA Finals, but it'll be a great series if it is the Spurs and the Heat, because you have the Spurs who have this dominant postseason, rarely have lost. The Heat, I think, would still be the favorites according to Vegas because of D Wade. And by the way, did you see D Wade's stare of Kevin Garnett? That was beautiful.
Yeah, that was, and it worked. I mean, it worked.
It's I think they're in Kevin Garnett's head.
Though D Wade has played horrible last night in the first half. 2 points. Maybe needs to go back to my boy Tom Crean at IU and get another pep talk, because that happened in the last series.
Maybe fly him in.
Fly him in. Maybe for you townies listening out there from Bloomington, I know we got some IU listeners right now. Maybe you guys will gather the funds. Maury Marcus is listening out there, a huge Heat fan from IU. Because Dwayne Wade played horrible. If he does play like that again, the Celtics will win. I mean, the Celtics had control, like I said, in the third quarter. I thought they were going to win the game. I fell asleep in the fourth quarter. I couldn't stay up. It's starting to catch up to me. I've been staying up for the Thunder series, which ends at 7 in the morning here. So finally, I couldn't do it. But I went to bed with the feeling that I'm going to wake up and see the series was tied. I woke up, and it was not.
Yeah, and that'll be pretty. I think it's pretty much all she wrote. By the way, though, when the Celtics do lose the series, is this all the end for the Big Three? I mean, Kevin Garnett was drafted in 1995 at 19 years old.
Right, but he still
35.
had a game where he had 28 points and 12 rebounds. I don't know if it's the end. I think what you have to do, though, is they don't become the Big Three anymore. They become guys who play 20 or 30 minutes, and you have to draft and add some guys. I know that the Colts with Manning and Brady a couple times, they adjusted their salaries so that they can get better players for that year. I mean, I see them staying on the squad, but I don't think that they can be your full-time starters and play 82 games and the playoffs. I don't think they can retire. I don't think they're at the stages where they want to go, to the Lakers, do that thing, when Karl Malone, remember when Karl went and Gary Payton. They're not at that point yet. They're not washed up. They're not, or Howard on the Heat. They're these guys who are old-timer. No, they still can play, especially Paul Pierce. Out of all, Ray Allen's really gone downhill this year, but this is a guy that's known for his shooting, and when you aren't as quick anymore and all that's a problem. But KG and Paul Pierce can still play. My thing would be try and get them to lower their salaries, $5-7 million, and bring in some guys in the off season, some younger guys, and only let them play 20 minutes. What do you think about that, Ari?
I don't know if they're going to agree to that. I don't know if they're going to agree to lower money and lower playing time. Remember, Kevin Garnett at the time when he was 21 years old signed the biggest contract in sports history at the time. It was $121 million, I believe, over 7 years, 6 or 7 years, and he still makes a lot of money. I think he makes $18-19 million.
Yeah,
I don't think he's given up any of his money. But
why not? Wants to win.
They all want money at the end of the day.
That's true. That's true.
You're right. He should do it, but he's not going to. I think he'll stick around with the Celtics. I think they're going to have to force him to play less time because at 35 years old, I don't know, he has a lot of wear and tear. It wasn't like he played for college for 4 years straight out of high school. So he's been in the league since 1995, fifth pick overall in that draft, and he doesn't have that much to go.
I think if I'm Rondo, I say I want out. I want out if you guys don't do something to build this team, because this is kind of like the Magic, kind of like the Lakers, they're a good team. They got lucky this year by having to play, the 76ers and the Hawks. I mean, no disrespect to those teams.
Right, but they got a huge break that Derrick Rose got injured.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, they would have played the Bulls.
I'm telling you, if Derrick Rose was healthy,
we'd see Bulls Heat again.
Bulls would have either swept them or fought. So this isn't going to happen next year. So the point is, Rondo might say something like, you guys need to make this team, add some key guys in the offseason, make some trades, maybe get rid of Ray Allen for someone, or remember, Ari, we've been talking about that on our show. We covered that big deal O.J. Mayo from the Grizzlies for Ray Allen. I think that would have been a great trade for the Celtics.
Yeah.
An upgrade, a young guy with a lot of potential, went to USC, was supposed to be one of the best high school players of all time, wasn't, but still a great guy who can give you 18, 16 points, and he's young. Ray Allen is not young anymore.
If they made that trade, they might have won 2 games in this series, but it certainly was not meant to be. They have the squad they have, and the question is, what squad will they have next year? Okay, let's
dial up Zach.
Yes.
He's coming out of the gym right now, so if you guys can tell that he's been breathing hard, that means he's working out. Of course, he's getting ready to get ready for all the NBA draft stuff, and I'll talk to him about that as soon as he picks up. Ari will introduce him as usual here on Louis Live.
Yes, again, check out the store by clicking on the store tab on IsraelSportsRadio.com. And, okay, so yes, make sure we have great items there for purchase. Hi, Zach, are you there?
It's me.
Hi, Zach, this is Ari Louis. You're live on Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com. How you doing out there?
How you doing? I'm in the cold tub.
Oh, nice. Okay, great. Well, we never done an interview with someone in the cold tub, but that'll still work. And
there you go. It's the first for everything.
That's right. It's always great to have the 2012 Ivy League Player of the Year here on the program. And Raphael will get things started. Go ahead, Raphael.
Zach, thanks for joining us. I know you're working hard on getting ready for the draft and everything, so thank you again for coming on.
No doubt.
I want to start off and talk about your career at Penn. And I know it's probably annoying for you to talk about, but I want to talk about what was it like going up against Jeremy Lin at the time. You were at Penn, he was at Harvard. You both knew you were great players. What was it like competing against him?
To be honest with you, Jeremy Lin he's a great guy. He's actually like one of the best dudes I've ever known on the court. He smiles out there. He has a lot of fun. He's really a guy of faith, like he really believes in his faith, and that carries him through. So I've had a blast watching him do what he's done in the league for the Ivy League for guys like myself. He's kind of paved the way and opened a lot of eyes for guys that play in our league. So I thank him every day I wake up, and I'm rooting for him.
Right, and he's had an amazing year with the Knicks. We just had someone on, interesting enough, from 97.5, The Fanatic, of course, in Philly. And we were talking about you. We were previewing you for our listeners. And what was interesting, our guest said that it's very rare when a guy from University of Pennsylvania can give so much hype to the city, generate so much buzz, especially with Temple being so good the last few years and St. Joe's, and on and on. So what is it like representing Penn and getting so much buzz for the university and for yourself from an Ivy League school?
Well, first of all, Penn did so much for me that I feel like I'm just giving back a little bit. I was lucky enough to get into the school and be Kyle Fogg's laughing at me. We're training together in New York. He's laughing at me during an interview. I was kind of laughing at myself, but Penn did so much for me that I felt like I was just doing my duty by giving back to the school, because Penn is a 40-year decision, not a 4-year decision, and the school is just phenomenal. The Big Five is the most underrated, unknown thing across the country. I mean, It's well known on the East Coast and in Philly, but between St. Joe's, Villanova, Temple, LaSalle, Penn, and then you add Drexel in there for 6, you got some of the best basketball in the country every year. Guys, 5 20-win teams this season in college ball. So to be able to represent that and work my way into a position where, I'm one of the best players in the city, has been phenomenal. Philly's a great basketball city. There's a lot of good players, a lot of great players. They've got a great culture in the summer of guys coming back and helping out. So Philly itself has been great for me, and I'm just thankful for the opportunity that Penn really did give me.
Right, and you made a great point. There's so many great schools, and so many. Temple really has done a lot. And, of course, we were talking about their last guest, the St. Joe's years with Delonte West and Jameer Nelson. Very impressive years there. I think Elite Eight in the NCAA tournament, very deep. Zach, I wanted to talk to you a little bit about your high school, because personally I think that really helped make you the player who you are. You went to St. Benedict's Prep, which is one of the best basketball high schools in the country. Can you tell us a little bit about your time there?
My time at St. Benedict's really, made me who I am. My mom wasn't sold on me going to Catholic school, but I ended up transferring from my public high school and redoing my junior year. So I ended up doing 2 years and playing for Coach Hurley. He was one of the best at St. Benedict's for 2 years with guys, two of my teammates are in the league right now, and, a lot of guys. We had 16 Division I guys in the gym every day. So, I mean, it was unique in every sense of the word, but, that I was up at 5:30 and home at 8. And, my time there really it gave me the habits to be successful. Coach Hurley knows how to build winning habits, and he knows how to dig in you and get the best out of you. So I was very prepared for anything that would come my way in college from my high school experience.
Right, and as you said, so many great players out of there in the last few years, and Coach Hurley is known across the country as being one of the best guys who really can evaluate talent and make the best out of it. I wanted to ask you about playing in the CBI this year, because we've actually had one of the, I guess you could say, guys who kind of creates the CBI, or who was the guy in charge of forming it. So what was it like playing in a postseason tournament this year?
To be honest with you, if I could be flat out honest, I mean, it's nice to win 20 games and play in the postseason, especially that Butler game that we got. I mean, all the respect in the world for Brad Stevens, and getting to know him a little bit was a highlight of my college career, really. But for us this year, it was as it should be every year with Penn. I mean, it's either the tournament or nothing. So, not making the tournament in 4 years is kind of a hole. It's like a chink in my armor, so to speak. But we did the best we could with what we had, and we really turned something around there. So, the postseason for Penn means NCAA, and I don't think that standard should change.
Okay.
But, it is kind of an empty feeling after that Princeton game. We had so much momentum going into it.
Right.
And we felt like we should have won and hung the banner, and the group deserved to do it. It just didn't work out. So that's that.
Okay, well, yeah, at the same time, a lot of good teams did play in the CBI this year, such as Butler, who's been in the national championship. We've interviewed Coach Stevens on the program a couple months ago, so that was interesting to hear that. Of course, this is Israel Sports Radio, and we want to ask you about what does it mean for you to be I'll be honest with you, a lot of Jewish kids who are playing ball right now in college and high school really look up to you, because you've been, I believe your agent now is Leon Rose, one of the best agents out there. You've done so much for Jewish basketball players. So what is it like kind of being a role model for all those guys out there?
Well, it's something that I carry very heavy to my heart. I think I played in the Maccabi games 3 summers ago for Bruce Pearl.
Right.
In Israel, and I played with guys like Dan Grunfeld and James Allegro and Todd Golden, guys that were, on their way to play pro or playing pro right then and there. And, that experience in Israel kind of opened my eyes to my identity as a Jewish person. So I wasn't really attached to it. I always had faith, but I didn't really take that part of my identity seriously, and then that Israeli experience fully changed my outlook on it. And when I went back to Penn, I just was exploring about who I was and how to explore that avenue. Penn being 30% Jewish, you have a lot of opportunities to do that there.
Right.
So being a player, but being a Jewish player is something that I think is important. I think it I think it opens the eyes of a lot of people to possibilities if you just put your head down and work hard and don't pay attention to naysayers and people that tell you what you can't do, or if you do pay attention, use it as fuel. And I think, I think it's great. I think if I can be in a position where I can, create possibilities for people that they didn't think they could achieve, then I think I'm doing God's service.
Right, and I mean, if you look at it, the last few years, there's been a lot of great Jewish basketball players coming out of college. Jordan Farmar, of course, with the Nets, now won a couple times with the Lakers. As you said, Dan Grunfeld, who played in Jerusalem this year and had a pretty good year, and now you. So speaking of you and your professional career, you're, of course, getting ready right now for the NBA and I think the combines and all that kind of stuff. So could you walk our listeners through what do you do every day to get ready for all the stuff that you're about to experience in the next month?
Well, like I said, right now I'm in the Colts. We've actually, myself and Kyle Fogg, we're both with Leon, and we've had the opportunity. Kyle played for Coach Dunlap at Arizona for a year, and I got to know Coach Dunlap through our assistant coach, Coach Lebo. And we're up here at St. John's working out for doing a little mini camp, really staying on top of our stuff. With Coach Dunlap, who is every waking minute is a learning minute. The guy's unbelievable. He's a machine. So we'll wake up, we'll get an hour of nonstop shooting stuff in and a track workout. We'll recover, we'll go home, nap, do whatever, chill, and then we'll come back for weights and live stuff in the afternoon.
Okay, and
so it's a long day.
Right, and speaking of professional career, I know your goal right now is the NBA, obviously, but if for some reason things don't work out, would you pursue maybe a career in Israel with a giant like Maccabi Tel Aviv or Hapoel Jerusalem?
Absolutely. I mean, if this thing doesn't work out, which, in all honesty, it's a possibility for everyone, but it's a possibility. We're working out here with two guys, Harris Horn and Justin Burrell, who played at St. John's, and their first year overseas was last year, and they're making some serious money, and they really enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And so that I would love to end up in Israel. Obviously, it'd be like a dream come true for me. It's my experience that I had there, and I've only been there once, 3 summers ago. Being there for a month, it just felt right. Like you feel it as a person of that culture and that heritage. You just feel it. So it's great ball there. I actually know a lot of Americans playing over there. There's some guys from Philly over there, and I know Sylvan Landsberg pretty well. So that's like 1 and 1A right there, if you ask me.
Right, and of course Sylvan's been a guest on our show. Ari, he was a pretty funny guy, wasn't he?
Absolutely, a big New York fan. He's from there, of course. He went to school in Virginia, but certainly represents New York pretty well. And he's a funny guy. It was really good to have him on. And there's talk he might go to maybe...
Actually, there's rumors right now that he's going to leave Haifa and go to Maccabi Tel Aviv.
Right.
And if not, go to Maccabi Tel Aviv, try and get a mini camp, some sort of thing with the NBA this summer. He had a great year here.
Yeah, last I heard he was going to try to do a mini camp, but what do I know?
Right, and playing. Sorry, go ahead, Zach.
Who knows what those money situations end up being? I know a lot of guys that make way more money in Europe than they would on the NBA roster.
Yeah, absolutely. I was just going to say, you play for a team like Maccabi, not only necessarily the money factor, but this year they played 85 games, I believe. We just interviewed Derek Sharp last night. I believe they went on something like 30, 40 charter flights to Serbia and Croatia and Czech Republic because they played in the EuroLeague and the Adriatic League. So you get to explore the world, see the world, get paid really well, play in front of 12,000 crazy fans. I'm a hardcore Maccabi. I love Nokia. So I guess I'm kind of making my pitch, Zach, for you to come here if things don't work out in the NBA. But we're hoping things do work out in the NBA. And I want to ask you, do you have a preference on a team that you'd like to play on, or you just want to play for anyone?
How could I have a preference?
Right.
I'm not in a position for any of that. So, would it be nice to stay local? It'd be a dream come true.
but I'm not usually. I don't really like the West Coast.
Okay.
But
see, there's your preference.
There's your preference, Zach. There's your preference.
A little sun wouldn't hurt.
Right, and
I need some vitamin D. My skin, it needs some of that.
Yeah, I can see that. But it's funny.
He can't see, but we can sense it because you're in the cool tub.
Yeah, right, exactly.
I don't know if that's related. All right.
We were on the track, so we soaked that in before.
Zach, I know that you the other night you were at the 76ers game when AI made his return and went on the court, and I know you got a picture with him. Did you know him before? What's your relationship with AI?
I didn't know him at all. I was at the game, and I had the opportunity to go to this room where they all hang out before the game, and Dr. J was in there, and he came in, and it was kind of an awkward. Someone introduced me to him, but then I knew that Leon Rosa represented him, so I kind of used that to segue. But then we chatted for a couple of minutes. He was awesome. That dude has the ultimate swagger. Ultimate.
Right, and absolutely.
Ultimate. I can see why he pissed a lot of people off, but I can also see why he was so damn good.
Yeah, and that's really a great point. Last thing I want to ask, or not last thing, I want to ask you about the Portsmouth Invitation. We've had the NBA director, Scotty and Ryan Blake, on, and he's told us a lot. We've got a lot of inside scoop about the Portsmouth. Ryan was a great guest on our show. What was it like going to the Portsmouth and playing with so many prospects around you?
Portsmouth was great. It's difficult like any small camp situation because guys don't really know each other, and it's kind of luck of the draw. If you get on a team that's going to play with chemistry and stuff like that, But it was a great experience. It was cool to see a lot of guys that you see on TV, guys that you know but don't really know, and then to play with them and against them was a great experience, and it was a good intro to this whole NBA thing. Right, and of course, you mentioned, or I mentioned earlier in the show, being from Penn, you don't really necessarily play against these guys that are in the Ivy League. So immediately stepping on the court and playing with guys from the Big Ten, the Big East, the Pac, all those conferences, that must be very exciting. I wanted to ask you one last thing for me, and then Ari's going to end you with a question. I know this might be a down-the-road question, but of course you are Jewish, and the rule for Israel for the national basketball team is that Jewish players can play. What would it be like if the Israel team approached you and said, Zach, we want you to play on our team and represent the state of Israel in the world? That would be the ultimate honor. I think that would probably be the top of the pyramid for basketball for me. Right, and I know that that's something right now that the Israeli Basketball Association is really working on, as well as the baseball team. They just got Sean Green out of retirement. I don't know if you remember Sean or know him, but I used to be a lefty junker. So okay, if they want to bring me out of retirement, I might still have some. All right. Well, if the basketball career doesn't work out, I guess you can always represent Israel. We're trying to get to the World Baseball Classic, so we'll see what happens with that. But yeah, I know the national teams try to recruit Alex Tyus, who's played for Florida and then played for Maccabi Ashdod, and of course Jordan Farmar, and even Landsberg. I've heard some weird rumors. Of course, they believe his mother's Jewish. I think his father's Jewish. So they were trying to get Landsberg, trying to make the team very competitive. And I know that adding Zach as a point guard would be great, because we do have a lot of great point guards already in Israel. But adding you would definitely help with the depth. So we'll see what happens with that. And I want to let Ari finish off with a more formal question, you could say. Yeah, I just found this kind of interesting. I was looking at your Wikipedia, and you've got a lot of great awards. 2012 Ivy Player of the Year. Basketball awards. Basketball awards, yes, and the All-Ivy team 3 times, an honorable mention All-American. But it says here that you won the Spoon Award and the Class of 1915 Award. What are those 2 awards, especially the 1915 award? What is that? Please tell us. Oh, how should I? So that's specific to Penn. Okay. Those 2 awards are specific to the university. The Class of 1915 award is awarded to the male senior athlete who displays the best all-around leadership in the classroom, on the court. You got to have above a 3.0, and basically you got to be all-star on your team, stand out on your team. So That's the 1915 award, and then the Spoon Award is something that, I really take pride in. That the Spoon Award is for the whole school, the whole senior class. All the students vote on it, and they, it's awarded to the male senior who's had the most impact on the school in 4 years.
Wow. Okay, so that's certainly an honor.
Voted on by the peers. It's not like an administrative award. It's voted on by our students. So, that meant a lot to me because I feel like what I did and the experiences that I had there were really, I really touched people, and I got it. So that was, for me, that was special.
Wow, that's great stuff. I'm certainly happy I asked about those awards. It's really, really cool stuff.
Yeah, really cool.
That the peers thought about you that way, and you were presented that award. Zach, we have to run. We certainly appreciate your time here on Louis Live and IsraelSportsRadio.com, and we'd love to do it again with you in the future, and we'll certainly be following your career throughout.
Awesome. Thanks for having me, guys.
All right, Zach.
Thanks, Zach. Have a great day. Good luck with everything.
Shalom.
Shalom.
Shalom. Shalom.
All right, that was Zach Rosen, the 2012 Ivy League Player of the Year. He'll be attending the NBA Draft Combine.
Right, and really got to root for him. Deep down, Ari, me being a hardcore Maccabi fan, expressing it on the show.
You want him not to make the NBA and him to go to Maccabi?
I don't want to say that. I really don't.
That's what you're thinking.
You know what? Let me put it this way, Ari. Let me put it this way. This is my dream come true. This is a win-win for Zach and Maccabi. Let's say he doesn't get drafted this year. A team tells him, go to Maccabi, be the starting point guard on the team, or play good minutes there, because it's hard to play under Coach Blatt. It is very hard to play under Coach Blatt when you're coming out. Look at John Shire. I think All-American at Duke, and he still couldn't play. So it's very hard. But Zach is a very dynamic player. But he comes here, plays for a year, and then the dream come true would be that his hometown 76ers grab him, snatch him, and he's, why not? They have guys like Spencer Hawes, that crazy guy from Washington, the big bearded guy, and all these young guys. Why not add a guy like Zach Rosen, a guy who can really shoot and really play, will give you his all, and is also an amazing person that we could tell from that interview.
And a funny guy.
Funny guy. Made a lot of good jokes. Definitely knows how to talk to the media. I'm sure he's done a lot of interviews. I know he's been featured on ESPN, Sports Illustrated. It's a great story what he's been doing for UPenn. And really, Eitan said it best, sorry, how the Big Five, Temple, who's been in the NCAA tournament 4 years in a row, and St. Joe's and Villanova. How could we forget Villanova with all those great teams with Allen and Foy and Lowry, all those guys on starters in the NBA, on the Clippers and the Rockets. So Zach won, actually, I believe, Ari, the Big Five Player of the Year. So best player in Philadelphia out of all of those teams, Villanova, St. Joe. That's a huge honor.
Yeah, to be the best player in the city of Philadelphia. I mean, all those. There are great players that we've never heard of that play in the street games of Philadelphia. So to be the best one in the entire city of all those colleges, everyone playing, is truly incredible. And we're going to stay here, not break for commercial, although I do want to again mention to check out our store by clicking on the store tab of IsraelSportsRadio.com. Great items there available for gifts for yourself or for your family, friends, birthdays, anniversaries. I don't really have a lot of holidays coming up, Jewish holidays. Let's see. Well, you have American on July 4th. Want to buy a gift there. It's kind of a weird time. I think it's the next holiday coming up. But in any case, we have them available, candlesticks, books, food, shirts, hats, all that great stuff on the store at IsraelSportsRadio.com.
And we're calling up our next guest, Brent Weber, who is from the Oklahoma Gaylord School of Communications, does a lot of stuff. So we're dialing him up right now.
Yes, and again, you're listening to Louis Live at IsraelSportsRadio.com. Great show. Thank you for joining us here on this Thursday afternoon as our last show of the week before we head into Shabbat and the weekend. So again, thank you for tuning to us here on Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Reach Brent Weber.
All right, he seems to not be there. Let's take a 5-minute commercial and try and get in touch with him, see what's going on. We'll be right back on Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Body and Soul Gym in the heart of Talpiot. Great machines, excellent staff, and wonderful classes such as Pilates, yoga, and kickboxing. Give them a call at 02-678-8861. Once again, that's 02-678-8861. www.body-soul.co.il. Once again, that's www.body-soul.co.il. That's Body and Soul in the heart of Talpiot, which is great for your body and your soul.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed Frequent Flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
Israel Sports Dynamics specializes in football consulting, equipment, uniforms, and more. Great brands such as Nike, Russell Athletics, Shutt Sports Products, and many more. Just one call away. With over 30 years coaching experience with university and professional athletes, Harry Hill, owner of ISD, can advise you for all your sports needs. Call 054-581-3248. That's 054-581-3248, or visit our website at www.isdisrael.com. If that's not easy enough, click on the ISD banner on the Israel Sports Radio website and be part of the game.
Are you tired of paying for expensive gym memberships that you don't use? Are you frustrated by not seeing results? It's time for the X1. Israel Gym Systems is proud to launch the X1 suspension and bodyweight training system. Lose weight, build muscle, improve balance, coordination, and flexibility. With your purchase of the X1, you'll receive a free membership to IsraelGym.com and access to our archives of videos and exercise plans. Sign up today at www.IsraelGym.com and get ready for the new you. Israel Gym X1. Higia Hazman.
DJ Venom. DJ Venom. DJ Venom. DJing parties throughout Israel. Birthday parties, weddings, club events, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, and much more. You pick the type of music and DJ Venom will turn your event to the party of the year. Available Sunday through Thursday. Call 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. That's 052-952-6506 or email djvenom1984@yahoo.com. Book your party today. That's DJ Venom.
Broadcasting live from Israel.
IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Back here on Louis Live, we're going to try to dial up our guest right now. Had a little bit of difficulty in touch with them. We'll see if we get in touch with them here. And again, you're listening to Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio. And we thank everyone for joining us here on the program. And again, I want to remind everyone to check out our store by clicking on the store tab on IsraelSportsRadio.com. Okay, we're going to try him again here. By the way, I want to thank our guests who've come on so far, Eitan Chandler and Zach Rosen. Zach was...
Okay. Sorry, Ari. Didn't mean to interrupt you. We just got a message from Brent who's ready to go, so we're going to dial him up again. Sorry, Ari.
Great.
Go ahead.
All right, so yeah, and Zach Rosen, of course, 2012 Ivy League Player of the Year. So it was just great to have him on, and we'll see what happens in his career. We'll keep an eye on that and certainly follow that. And hopefully Jasmine Marcus was listening, of course.
Right. And Ari Bluestein, yes. Of course, because, our Philadelphia
connection.
Responder.
Yes, absolutely. So great start so far to the show here.
Hello, this is Brent.
Hi, Brent. You're on Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com. Thank you so much for joining us.
You bet. How's it going?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing well,
I want to start off and talk to you. I know that you work at University of Oklahoma, so we got to talk about the Thunder. I didn't expect this to happen, Brad. I didn't expect this to be so easy for the Spurs. I thought this would be the Thunder's year to at least make it competitive. What are your thoughts been on this series so far?
Well, I think it's a really interesting matchup because having been there, I was part of the Thunder broadcast team the first year they were here. The organization is really built as a mirror of the Spurs, and the type of people that they develop and just the way they operate, and so there was a couple of time kind of it was almost part of their destiny that they're going to have to knock down the Spurs at some point. People think it would be the Lakers, but I think this is the opportunity for them to really show that it is a 7-game series. I mean, you said I really don't think that those first 2 games were an indication of the Thunder not being, a team that can advance. Just really were an indication of when the Spurs are healthy, they're still the Spurs, and I don't think it's over yet. I think
right.
that is, having been at that arena where San Antonio plays, that is one of the most difficult places to win in, and there's a reason why. It's a small, danky, very, very uncomfortable arena, and when those guys are really, really comfortable like the Spurs are, they're hard to beat there. So, on the other hand, Oklahoma City has a great fan base. I wouldn't be surprised if they didn't come back to Oklahoma City and they take care of their games here and see how it goes from there. I think home court advantage is going to be the difference. Maybe if the Spurs are going to be a team that's hard to beat at home, but Thunder's going to have to prove it.
Absolutely, and I've watched a lot of the Thunder games this year, and even in the playoffs, and that all-blue crowd is really intense on TV. The fans, you could tell, are really into it, very passionate. Of course, Oklahoma City, not really the biggest market, as well as the Spurs, even though Spurs is a huge, huge city, 1 million population, but still Oklahoma City really appreciates this team. Before I want to talk a little bit more about that series, but we've had a guest on our show a million times. Clenari Carter, he's our Southern correspondent. He covers the Hawks for us and the Heat and all that kind of stuff. He's been making the argument. He's a Seattle guy, born and raised in Seattle. He's been making the argument he's so tired of this Thunder team getting, you know what I'm going to say, getting all the love and getting all the pretending as if there's, what would you say, the addition to the Supersonics. I mean, our guy Clenari says that it should be it's a new team, new everything, don't connect it to the past. People in Seattle hate that. You're an Oklahoma guy, so what are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, I was here when when the team moved here, and it obviously stings basketball fans in Seattle. When the team moved here, and it was a big power play. I mean, it was a risk. Obviously, Clay Bennett, who's the majority owner of the team and the guy who orchestrated the move, had it failed, it would have been all right for Clay Bennett too, because he would have sold his share of that team probably and looked to buy another one.
Right.
Seattle could have kept the Sonics. They didn't build a new arena. What's forgotten is Key Arena was one of the worst basketball facilities, is the worst basketball facility in the NBA. So that city, unfortunately, I love Seattle, but that's a lot of crying over spilt milk. And here, it's funny, they don't even really think about it being, the Sonics. And it's a shame for Seattle because that's a great city, obviously, but they needed a new arena. That thing was not even a good college basketball arena. And so,
interesting.
You can tell them that they can cry all they want in Seattle as much as my sister lives there. I love Seattle. If they wanted to keep that team, they could have kept it. And
okay.
It was a power play that just didn't work out for Seattle.
Right, but do you agree with guys on TV saying stuff like the other night I heard them saying this is the 5th time that the Thunder have been to the Western Conference Finals. Obviously, that's not true. They're including the Sonics. So, is that weird for you to hear? The kind of stuff like that. That's kind of more I want you to touch up on.
Yeah, that is weird, isn't it? And that's not the local mentality here in Oklahoma City, honestly. But that's semantics to a degree. That's like the Milwaukee Brewers in baseball were the Seattle Pilots. In football, or it's just one of those things. You can't erase history and the fact that was that franchise, but no one looks at this as the fifth time that team has been to the NBA Western Conference Finals. You're right. I mean, I think that's what the national guys are doing. You would never hear us on the local broadcast say that. That was actually very clear within the organization when I worked for them, that not that we wanted to ignore history, but that we wanted to be sensitive to the fact that the Thunder kind of began in Oklahoma City, and that what happened with the Sonics, to have a break there. So locally, that's kind of the way it's approached. Nationally, they can't really ignore the fact that the franchise was in Seattle before, but hey, that's a little bit like I grew up in Atlanta, and the Braves in the 1970s were horrible. Well, we were still the Braves, so you can have a connection there, but it's completely different kind of thing. It's a national approach to it, but locally here they don't even, they kind of think their franchise started when it got here.
Right, and before we move on to something else, I guess we kind of asked you about the start, but the Oklahoma City fans have really embraced this team, and really, I know during the regular season, everything was sold out. People have really, in 4 years now, they've been to 2 Western Conference Finals. They've drafted, Presti's done an amazing job at just building this team. It's really amazing that every single pick he's gotten has really worked out, all the way from Russell Westbrook to Serge Ibaka to James Harden, who I remember at the time a lot of people were very skeptical about because he was coming out of Arizona State, which really is not the biggest basketball school, especially with Arizona being there. Right. And people were saying, he was good in college, good in the Pac-10, but we'll see. And he's become an all-star player, the 6th man of the year. So what has it been like for the fans to get this team, this expansion franchise, quote-unquote expansion in a way, and have them be successful so immediately, so quickly?
Well, I think that it's one of the neat things about it is this is a college town. This is a university town. University of Oklahoma in this state was it. They were there. They were these fans. The Thunder, essentially, they're these fans. Dallas Cowboys and Texas Rangers and Dallas Mavericks and Stars all wrapped up into one. This is it. This is the one big time. So that's why one reason why the fans are the way they are. They're like college fans. They're rabid. Everybody roots for them. And on the second thing is what you said. What Presti does, what they do in San Antonio, what they do in Utah, for example, smaller markets without a lot of extra money and a lot of room to breathe. They draft character. They look for guys that, like a Thabo Cephalosha, who they had their eyes on for a couple of years, and they went and got. Those are guys that people know they have talent, but the average fan hasn't seen them, in the NCAA tournament. They don't know who they are. And a guy like James Harden was so well scouted, so well known, and they're looking at him as a character guy that can fit in with the rest of them. Let's back up. How many people really knew how good Russell Westbrook was?
Very good point.
He was a kid, and yet they had done so much research into him. Serge Ibaka was a project, quote unquote, type of player, but he knew what kind of talent he has. I saw him in the summer league in Las Vegas, and Ibaka was so rough and so not yet polished. Yet you could tell he was a guy that, with a year or two of essentially development, he was going to be a good player. And that's what Sam Presti is so good at, and also researching guys' backgrounds and how they get along with their teammates. they can afford in Oklahoma City to go draft a guy that's risky, that might come in here and not be happy in a small market. So all those things kind of have to come into play. And if you look at what I said earlier, the San Antonio Spurs have done the same thing, and that's where Presti
came from, right?
Developed his own skills. That's where he came from.
Absolutely.
You go to these markets like that.
And you know what? One of the greatest points you have made that no one has been talking about, Brent, and no one in the national media, Russell Westbrook kind of came out of nowhere. I know he was a top 10 pick, I believe, but still, you look at other guys like Aflalo, Jordan Farmar, who we've had on the show before. Those guys actually had more hype to be greater players coming out of college than Westbrook. I remember Westbrook in college was known at UCLA for being almost scary, freakishly athletic with his arms and how quick he was, but not necessarily the best shooter, very, very raw. And he kind of, I don't even know the best way to word it, just kind of came in and really worked hard, and now is a great shooter. Or I don't know if I'd call it a great shooter, but likes to take a lot of shots. We can say that. And he's done
confident.
A great job.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a shooter, Russell's confident. He at UCLA, obviously, if he would have stayed a couple more years, we would have seen an awful lot of him. And that being the story, he also is not a guy that was really as comfortable in the spotlight as a couple of those other guys you mentioned. I mean, Jordan Farmar is a perfect example of that. I mean, good player, really smart kid, he's not a kid anymore, but he was more comfortable in the spotlight. Russell's not really a guy who loves being on TV. He's, as far as being interviewed, he's more comfortable with all that now. So he wasn't flashy in that way. He just is a gym rat. A lot like, ironically, a guy like Scott Brooks, who's his coach in Oklahoma City, who is a gym rat. And they saw that in Russell. Russell worked hard, loved to play. And I think you'll see that with a lot of guys, on the Oklahoma City Thunder. They love to play. And his freakish athletic ability aside, all these guys have great athletic ability. There were intangibles that they saw in him. And I think the simple fact that he didn't have to be the go-to guy every day in college proved something to them, because the NBA, he was going to be drafted on a team that was going to have Kevin Durant if the Thunder took him, and they did. And he was going to have to be comfortable being the number 2 guy. And he's been very good at that. He's every bit their Scottie Pippen or their James Worthy, to Michael Jordan, who would be Kevin Durant, or Magic Johnson, or Kareem, who would be, Kevin. So, Russell's that kind of guy. He can be a number 1 guy on any team probably in the world,
right?
Except for the one he's on.
Yeah, that's a great point. And I want to ask you, is it scary to think about the prospect of the Thunder of drafting Odin? And if they would have drafted Odin, let's say that
Isn't that something?
Yeah, it's scary.
Yeah, that really is. It really is something. And Odin is a nice. Everybody pulls for Odin. He's
absolutely
not a. He's not a bad guy. He's obviously he's a little bit of. He's become, ironically, the team that took him. When we think of that, Portland. He's kind of the modern day Bill Walton. A can't miss, great player, but his body just has not held up, and it's really, it really is. It's been serendipitous for Oklahoma City, because let's look at, the Sonics. Then that was a long way away from where Kevin grew up. He grew up in the Washington D.C. area, and then went to Texas. And I'm sure that to him, he feels like fate has been very good to him, because he's perfect in a market like this. And that franchise really got lucky, or let's just say Portland got unlucky with the health of Odin, because I still think that was the pick you were going to take. You just
right.
It's kind of like big guys. There aren't that many big guys, and that are polished at that level and that age. Big guys develop later. So, when you've got a Shaquille O'Neal or you've got a guy like that, you're going to take them. It's the way it is. Unfortunately, they also tend to have more injuries. So
true, and funny. Or actually, I don't know why I said funny, but sad thing is, I don't know if you got a chance to read this interview, this exclusive interview with Greg Oden, one of his former AAU teammates, who's now a writer at Grantland. For our listeners out there who don't know, that's kind of Bill Simmons' thing. And I guess for our listeners in Israel who don't know who Bill Simmons is, he's the funniest columnist in the world, in my opinion. I love reading his stuff. You guys can check him out at ESPN. But it was very sad. Odin said that he became an alcoholic,
right,
and that it was so hard for him to see Durant be so successful. What are your thoughts on those comments, Brent?
Yeah, and I didn't interview him, and Bill Simmons is a terrific writer. Yeah, and he actually, ironically, he's known as ESPN's sports guy. So
right.
he terrific writer. Yeah, I think that's one of the cautionary things that happens to, it could happen to any young man who's put in the position of such pressure to be successful, and then it's all of a sudden taken away from you. All of a sudden it's gone. And the cautionary tale there is that, when young people are drafted into the NBA, no matter how well the teams take care of them, all of a sudden a guy has millions of dollars that he never had, that he's probably not capable of handling that type of responsibility. I don't know what I would have done with $1 million when I was 20, but I doubt I would have done all that well. The bottom line on that kind of stuff is that we do need to remember people are people, and the pressures that come with it, and the pressures that can come with failure. And, fans are not always kind. And the game, in this case, and I don't know that story, but my guess is, that was an internal pressure kind of thing that he just felt. A lot of times with the type of injuries he had, where he had microfracture surgery on his knee a couple of times, I think you're left sitting around on your backside. And 19, 20, 21-year-old guys aren't really used to sitting around on the backside. And so I'm sure the Trailblazers kept tabs on him, but there's only so many hours in a day that you can do that. And so it's unfortunate. But we see stories like that. I know ESPN did a really terrific documentary this past year on a guy I had done stories on when I worked at CNN as a sportscaster, Chris Herron, who was just a phenomenal player. His teammates called him White Mike at Fresno State because they said he was like a white kid that played like Michael Jordan, and he was fantastic. He had a severe substance abuse problem throughout his life, and they did a really great documentary on how he's at peace with that now, and he's sober, and he's turned his life around and working with kids. But his career was a blip on the radar because of the difficulties. So life's hard, and it's hard for people with a bunch of money too, and it's very, very difficult to be successful at a level like the National Basketball Association, even if you have the talent.
Right. And Brent, for our listeners out there, we're on right now with Brent Weber, and I want to tell our listeners more about you because you have a crazy impressive resume, I must say. And for guys like Ari and I who have been doing this for a while and we're trying to get in the business and try and get connected, it's very interesting to see what you've been able to do. You were an intern back in the day at CNN, then you later got a job there. Then you did a lot of stuff in the Atlanta region. Of course, CNN is also in Atlanta. Then you worked for Fox Sports West, another Fox Sports, covered the Lakers, covered the Kings. Ari's going to get to that with you in a minute. My question for you is, for our listeners out there who are young and in the School of Journalism, I know you're also a professor at Oklahoma, so what is your advice for all our young listeners out there who want to get involved in sports media and sports communications? Because you're the man to ask.
Well, I appreciate that. I always say, someone is going to get that job. Why shouldn't it be you? Someone's going to live out that part of their dream. Why shouldn't it be you? So what someone taught me early on in my life was meet as many people that you can who are doing what you're doing or what you want to do, even if they seem like they're a million years old and you're just a little kid, quote unquote. You still need to, we call that networking now, but basically meet as many people as you can in the business.
Right.
Ask them how they got where they got, and remember who they are, and send them notes. And networking is a big thing. Internships are huge in our industry, and now with the internet, I'm not somebody who thinks the internet and the explosion and what we call the flattening of the world with the electronic media. That's good. It's created more opportunities for talented people to be heard. And the last thing I'll say on all of it, you can talk about being a sports journalist. You can talk about being a good sportscaster. You can talk about being a good sports writer, but you still have to develop skills. So don't forget the fact that you need to learn how to do it right and be accountable and develop a reputation. And it starts when you're a kid, and
right.
you want to be taken seriously. You have to take the job seriously, and there's no reason that people can't make it that way.
Absolutely. I'll be very honest with you and our listeners right now. We've gotten so many great guests on the show. That's my job here at the network. And I found you on LinkedIn, and we connected, and I want to say I appreciate you responding and agreeing to come on. And I think more people should be open to all kinds of opportunities. I mean, of course, we're a radio show in Israel, and a lot of people, after they talk to us, go, wow, I thought I was going to come on and have to explain to you what a basketball was, but we're just as informed. And we've had everyone from ESPN and Fox, and we really appreciate that you came on, and your words of wisdom were great. And I hope that our listeners out there are taking notes, and we'll get to it.
I appreciate that very much. And I'm a victim of my own enthusiasm in my life, and I think that's a nice thing. I've been around some great mentors. Mr. Bill McPhail, who passed away, was one of those at CNN when I was a kid and I was 18. I was there the day CNN went on the air as an intern, and I watched and I learned and I saw mistakes and came back years later and worked for them when they had sports. So I'm very, very lucky.
All right, Brent, a couple of minutes with you here before we let you go. I want to go to the NHL Finals, but before we talk about this specific year, we saw a great piece, 30-30 on ESPN. They do a wonderful job. Talk about Wayne Gretzky going to the Canes back in the late 80s, early 90s. Went to the finals, of course, in 93. That's the Canes' only trip to the finals until this season, of course. And that really changed the NHL. Once the Canes were viable in L.A., you had teams move to the south and to the west. I'm from Phoenix, so we got advantage of that with the Coyotes going there. So I want to know how you've seen hockey really change. You've covered the Canes and the Ducks. Ducks also another new team. That was one of the biggest moves in probably NHL history, Gretzky going to the Canes. And I wonder if you kind of just talk a little bit more about that, how he had such a huge effect on the NHL by doing that.
It did. I mean, yeah, you're right. And I wasn't. And thanks, Ari. It's good to hear your voice. The Ducks would not exist without Wayne Gretzky. We did stories on that at CNN when I was in Southern California, and that was so important for that sport. People just don't. Young people may not even realize how incredibly dominant Wayne Gretzky was, and that Edmonton Oilers team was. So it was Babe Ruth going from it was Babe Ruth going mid-career, the Yankees, to the, some upstart team. That's essentially what that was. It was that big. And it was what the LA Galaxy in soccer, American football, American soccer, what they were hoping David Beckham would do, which has not necessarily happened because he's not in his prime anymore either. But that was such a huge, and there's really nothing I can compare in American sports to the impact that had. It also, what we have to remember too, is that also just on the doorstep of the explosion of international players. When the Berlin Wall fell, and so many of the Eastern European players started coming, and West Asian players started coming to the United States to play, and that dramatically changed too. And I don't think that happens without the influx of money and capital and the success that those franchises all started having during the expansion years. The NHL probably expanded too quickly. A couple of those markets had struggled, but with that said, I don't even think any people can comprehend how the NHL would be today had that trade not happened and opened up the U.S. to hockey, because people just weren't interested, except for in the hockey towns. They just were not interested. They didn't care. Hockey wasn't even on the radar.
That's such a great point about really elaborate in detail about it, and here the Canes are now with everything, a chance to get their first title in Los Angeles. They go up 1-0 in the finals. They win last night in overtime, beat Marty Brodeur. People think this is Marty Brodeur's swan song. Could be his last time in a uniform in the NHL at 4 years old, but he might go out a loser because the Canes are red hot, even though they're the 8th seed. So this has just been an incredible ride. They've only lost 2 games so far in the postseason. And I'm still trying to figure out what makes the Kings go. I know the saying is to ride a hot goalie into the playoffs, but is there something else we're really missing? Because it's just unexplainable, this 8th seed being now 3 wins away from the NHL Stanley Cup championship.
Yeah, no, and I don't think a lot of folks thought New Jersey was going to be there either. If you would step back. So at this point, if I were a betting man, and I'm not, but if I were, I would have hung my hat on Marty Brodeur as well, because Martin Brodeur is one of the great hockey goalies of all time, and he's playing well. He's not an old guy just standing in the pipes. And they had to go to OT to get it last night, and it was a terrific play that got him there. It's almost like there's a little bit of when a team begins to click like the Kings are. I think that's the bottom line, is they're just simply clicking, they're believing it. And they're not facing a giant. They're not facing they're not facing a team. It's not like you're looking at a Red Wings team that rolled through the season and looked unbeatable, or as we've seen some other teams in the past. And I think that's part of it. I don't think they see the Devils as unbeatable. And, they're just playing well together. They appear healthy. They're rested when the game comes, and it's exciting. I'm living in Oklahoma City right now, and turning on network television here in the States, and Oklahoma City's got Edmonton's top farm team now, and so hockey is not number 1 or 2 in this market, but at least it's drawing some numbers and attention, and I've got a lot of friends back there who are involved with the Kings and cover the Kings as well, and I'm tickled for them too, because they have good fans that have stuck with them, and I'd like to see it. I'm not pulling for anything, but I like to see all series go 7, and if they're going to be like it was last night, a 2-1 overtime game with really just a freakish play that won it, you can't even blame Martin Brodeur for that. It's not his fault. It essentially was a breakaway that beat him. So, just a terrific move. So, I hope the NHL Finals gets that, and it pumps up those 2 big markets. The Greater New York market and the Greater LA market are so important to the success of the NHL long term.
Absolutely, and I'm thinking just real quick about Marty Brodeur when his New Jersey Devils played Jiggy and the Sharks, who rode that great ride. He actually, I think Jiggy won the Conn Smythe, even though they lost. But Brodeur, I still remember kind of pumping his fist to the crowd, win his Stanley Cup. That's what he's about. Even though he lost last night, I'm sure he's going to perform great through the rest of the series. I don't know if the Devils will win necessarily, but I've always said that the Stanley Cup playoffs are the best of all the playoffs. The players don't take a shift off. They fight every single play, so it's always very entertaining to see. But moving out to the Lakers, as you've covered them as well, a lot of different thoughts about one of the NBA's marquee franchise and where to go from here. Paul Gasol apparently wants out. I saw an article on Yahoo a couple weeks ago saying that really Kobe Bryant should be moved because he's due to make $30 million pretty soon, and he's on the other side of 30, as they like to say. What are your thoughts about what the Lakers need to do to make some improvements to their ball club?
Well, and, addressing Kobe first, money doesn't matter in Los Angeles, and there's no clearer way to put it. $30 million, $1 billion, a couple $1 billion to buy a team, I can get you a baseball team. Money doesn't matter in Los Angeles, and that is why teams like LA like the New York Yankees, like franchises that have those golden eggs to deal with in terms of their TV contracts and so on, they have an advantage. I mean, they really, truly do, salary caps aside. So with that said, you still want Kobe Bryant as a guy you're building your team around? Yes. That's going to be the first question that fans should ask. Secondly, who of the other pieces that aren't working together is going to get you the most back? Now, in the NBA, it's always an X for an X, Y for Y. You've got to make that trade work, or you've got to make the deal work. Pau Gasol is a very, very nice piece that a lot of people would want. And there are a lot of people who aren't sold on Andrew Bynum, for example. He's still a kid to me, which, as I said earlier when I was speaking with Rafi, the big guys develop later. And I'm not necessarily sold on Bynum myself, but I think you can still get more for Pau Gasol if it were just an open market thing, even at his age, than you could get for Andrew Bynum across the board, because a lot of people aren't sure that Bynum is a team guy that they want. But he had a terrific year. He is the guy that's going to carry you through the playoffs. Kobe still is. I think that their bench is really disappointing. And that's what Jerry West was so good at doing, and that's what I think really need to address is their depth. And nothing hurt them worse than Odom being gone. I know there's a lot of sour grapes over the trade that didn't happen for Chris Paul, and that was all still very that's still very confusing, I think, to the outsider, how that all went down, that he lined up with the Clippers. But I think they need to address their chemistry, and they can get more for Pau Gasol than anybody on that team except for Kobe. And that's probably the guy that needs to go. And it'll be good for Pau Gasol. And it'll be good for the Lakers if Mitch Kupchak can make the right kind of deal. But, boy, they've got to address that bench. And the bench it doesn't have what it traditionally has had for the Lakers over the last, quarter century.
Yeah, and again, it's a great point that it's really vital. And there's no amount of money. Basically, money is priceless. It grows on trees in LA, so you got to do what you got to do to keep the team going, especially for the NBA's sake, because it's such a great franchise. Brent, we certainly appreciate the time. We have to run, but it was a lot of fun here on Louis 11, IsraelSportsRadio.com, and we would love to do it again with you in the future. Absolutely. Anytime, you guys let me know, and I appreciate the patience in getting through to me with the time difference.
No problem. Thank you so much, Ben. Thank you so much for being...
And for the inspiring words, inspirational words. We're going to take those to heart.
Really, it means a lot to us. We're trying to work on a lot of big things, and while you were talking, Ari and I were saying, wow, this applies to us.
Very nice. I appreciate it, guys. Anytime.
All right, thanks,
Anytime.
Brett.
Thank you, Brett. Be well.
You bet. Bye-bye.
All right, that was Brett Weber, who's just kind of done everything in the book. He's been on CNN Headline News, covered the Oklahoma City Thunder, was with ESPN at one point, covered Fox, covered the Lakers, covered the Ducks, covered the Kings. So really all over the place. Has a TV show in Los Angeles. He's not in LA, I think, when he does the show, but it's broadcast in Los Angeles. So it was really great to have him on the program. 2-minute commercial is the plan, or are we going to stay?
It's 2-minute commercial.
Okay.
A minute and a half commercial.
Let's do that, and we'll be back on the other side. It's Louis Live in Israel, SportsRadio.com.
You're tuned in to the only all-sports talk network in the Middle East, IsraelSportsRadio.com.
Body and Soul Gym in the heart of Talpiot. Great machines, excellent staff, and wonderful classes such as Pilates, yoga, and kickboxing. Give them a call at 02-678-8861. Once again, that's 02-678-8861. www.body-soul.co.il. Once again, that's www.body-soul.co.il. That's Body and Soul in the heart of Talpiot, which is great for your body and your soul.
You're already using a credit card every day. Why not feel good every time you make a purchase? When using the HAS Advantage Support Israel Visa card, a percentage of each purchase you make will be donated to your choice of 24 Israeli-based charities, while still earning a reward point for every dollar spent. But wait, these rewards are even better than the standard rewards you get, especially when using them towards Israel travel, with the best conversion rate on El Al's Matmeed Frequent Flyer program. Earn double points at some of your favorite supermarkets and restaurants in the U.S., as well as discounts all over Israel. If you love traveling and supporting Israel, HAS Advantage is the card for you. Just give us a call toll-free at 1-866-6-ISRAEL. Sign up right now with the code ISR10 to earn 2,500 bonus points. That's 1-866-647-7235. HAS Advantage. Earn rewards. Support Israel. Offer valid for U.S. citizens only. Terms and conditions do apply. When dialing from within Israel, please dial 1-800-200-818.
All right, back here on Louis Live on IsraelSportsRadio.com. And our thanks to Brent Weber, again, for coming on the program. Really just great to have him on. And I want to take this time again to talk about the store.
Welcome. This service is provided by FreeConferenceCall.com. Please enter your access code followed by the pound sign.
You click on the store tab, and again, you get a lot of great items. Actually, if you like sports
Please enter your
and
access
religious
code
items,
followed by the pound sign.
we have that mixed there. We have Kippot that Manchester City United, actually any sports team you pretty much want, is on there. If there's something we're missing, write to us. We can potentially make that for you. We can make an item for you, but most of the items that you probably be interested in are up on the store site. So check that out. We ship it out to you. The pricing includes shipping. So when you take a look at the pricing and when you realize it includes shipping, it's a very, very good deal. The products, we make them actually here in Jerusalem. So it's you are supporting the economy. You're supporting the store, of course, at Israel Sports Radio. So it's a great, great store. Also, if you're interested in IFL apparel, we do sell that as well. If you're, of course, IFL, the Israel Football League, we can make a shirt for any one of the 10 teams. Of course, the champions this year, the Tel Aviv Sabres, can make championship T-shirt shirts.
Welcome. This service is provided by FreeConferenceCall.com.
Again,
Please enter your access code followed by the pound sign.
Check out the store again, IsraelSportsRadio.com/store, or if you're on the site, click on the store tab. Also,
you entered 588286.
Yes.
If this is correct, press 1. To re-enter, there is one other participant in this conference. Please announce yourself.
Israel Sports Radio.
Hey, Raphael.
Hey, Gina, you're on on Louis Live on Israel Sports Radio with my host, Ari Louis. How are you doing?
Oh, we're doing great. How are you?
We are doing great. We're very excited to have you on. Of course, I was on your show in Atlanta. It was a great show, and I want to tell our listeners a little bit more about you. Gina Pitts is the executive producer and radio personality of Pro Sports Live Radio, which is a great show. I was on it, as I mentioned, and a lot of great stuff. I want to start off. I know, is Mike there as well?
Yeah, I'll get him on the line in just a second.
Okay. For our listeners out there, Mike Pitts, Gina's husband, is a retired NFL player who has played for the Falcons, the Eagles, and the Patriots. So we'll get a little bit into that in the interview in a few minutes. But, Gina, you've done so much for women out there in sports. So I want to start off and talk about Pro Sports Live's family and fans in the magazine and everything you do and how hard you work on that. So can you tell our listeners a little bit about how that began and just some background info on that?
Well, we started the organization in 2004, and our purpose is to provide resources to the wives and families of pro athletes, coaches, and sports executives in the United States and abroad. So our mission is to help them navigate through the challenges of being in the pro sports and entertainment industry.
Hi, Gina. You're now on. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say we're a nonprofit organization. We're national, and our goal is just to help the families and the wives to, adapt to all the different challenges because, pro sports is not kind to families because the players are often gone long periods of time, and the wives and the families are really there left alone to manage the household and keep everything going.
Hi, Gina. You're now on with Ari Louis here on Louis Live. Thank you for your time on coming on the program. That's actually what I was exactly going to mention. That's certainly hard because people, I think, have this idea, well, these athletes make so much money and everything is easy for them. And what are some of the issues? Well, if you have an athlete that goes on road for half the year, that's hard for the family. And also, not all professional athletes make that much money as well. They're not all multimillionaires. Some make a few $100,000, and after expenses and taxes and accountants, all that kind of stuff, it's not like living in mansions everywhere. So that is a great thing of what you're doing. And I want to know if you can kind of elaborate a little more on that. Do the wives and the families kind of get together and hang out and build a bond and build a community while their husbands and fathers are playing professional sports?
Do get together during the season. The beginning of the season is pretty tough because the players are still, trying to earn their spot on the team, and you never know who's going to get cut or who's going to make the team. So, there's still a lot of challenges, getting adapted because some of these wives are just straight out of college. They haven't even, been introduced to the lifestyle. So it's far different than being, on your college campus with a couple of $100 in your bank account, and then you go into the pros, and then you have a couple of millions. And as you said, a lot of players make just the minimum. They're not all wealthy. People think that all the pro athletes, make millions of dollars and don't have any problems, but they really don't know what goes on behind the scenes because there's a lot of expenses to be able to just work. And a lot of those expenses, taxes is 30%. You're paying your agents anywhere from 5 to 15%. Your brokers. I mean, a lot of money is going out the back door as soon as it's earned. And then you're having to, of course, enjoy yourself, but you're having to, really kind of maneuver through that whole world that's really new. And if you don't have any resources or people to show you, what's up ahead, all the challenges up ahead, you really are just kind of, kind of swimming upstream, if you will, and just having to just meet all kinds of challenges. And a lot of these situations before and after the sport cause so much havoc on the families that oftentimes the players and wives are divorced. There's an 85% divorce rate, and players are, as the statistic shows, 85% of them are divorced and $250,000 in debt after they've retired within 2 to 3 years. So our goal is to try to keep the families together.
Wow, and that's very interesting stuff there. Gina, I want to ask you, I know you were, I believe I'm just trying to get the title here, you were the Atlanta Falcons Wives Association VP, which means you were in charge of it. That was the first kind of thing you did in 1985. Did that kind of help you come up with a foundation for your organization? Could you talk a little bit about that?
Well, yes, my husband, he's actually on the line too.
Okay.
And when he was, I was a rookie wife in 1985.
Okay.
And I had this idea back then because the players have their own association, as you know. But the wives back then, we were just kind of roaming around in the parking lot after we were dropped off and kind of like we felt like cattle, just trying to kind of get to know each other, didn't know anything. The closest thing you had back then to a connection to a team was the human resource office, to get your insurance cards.
Right.
And you got a chance to know the ticket guy. So you had human resources and the ticket guy, and that was it. So we all kind of started back in 1984 as informal, but as a Bible study group. That's how we really got started. And as we had Bible study, we started doing charitable events. And so I got the inspiration from that. And as Mike played with the Atlanta Falcons, and then he went on to play with the Eagles, I got introduced to other people to expand the vision of doing more charitable events.
Right.
And so it was very, very successful.
And we want to now welcome Mike on the line. Mike, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here. How you doing, Rafi?
Hi, Mike. Thanks so much for joining our program. I want to talk a little bit about your time with the Patriots because, of course, we've had...
That's Raphael's favorite team, so
that's my favorite team, of course.
and,
no, but come on, got to give some love to Robert Kraft, who's been on the show and been a great supporter of the football league here that Ari Louis, my host, is actually the main play-by-play guy for.
Yeah, Mr. Kraft's great. So, yeah, actually, if you could just start right there talking about, Mr. Kraft, obviously very sad what happened last summer with his wife, Mrs. Kraft, passing away.
Myra.
But they were both they're both so involved. All the players love the Kraft and respect them, the Kraft family. So I guess if you could kind of talk a little bit more about that from a player's perspective.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that was actually my first year in New England was the first year that the Krafts had on the team.
Okay.
And, of course, they made a lot of changes to the organization. I mean, they brought it to a first-class level. Before, when I was playing, I mean, New England was known as the place where either there or Cincinnati was the place where you got traded to and your career ended. So,
wow.
But they brought a winning attitude to the program. It was just tremendous. It was great. And they did a lot. They oriented a family type atmosphere where they wanted to get the families involved as well as the players and things that was going on in the community, and they did a tremendous job.
Right, and that's not, I mean, as you said, world-class organization. Now everyone wants to stay there. A lot of players seem to be, it's funny, a lot of former Colts have been going there this offseason. I know Anthony Gonzalez signed there. They just released him, but Joseph Adai. Also, you look, one of the most interesting things, I know Gina has told me, Michael, you're a great analyst, so I want to get your thoughts on what I'm about to ask you. Wes Welker was with the Dolphins for 4 years, was a great punt returner, kick returner, but they never really gave him a chance to thrive as a wide receiver. Then, boom, gets traded for a fourth-round pick, comes to New England, and suddenly is the best receiver in the league. Not necessarily most catches for, I think, 3 out of 4 years. Probably the best slot receiver in the last 15, 20 years. So why do you think that happened? How the Patriots exactly do that?
Well, you have to give credit from that point to a coaching staff that utilize the player's ability and talent to where he can also excel. I mean, at that time it was really what the Patriots needed. They needed a sort of like another go-to guy for Tom Brady, and they never had Welker do anything that was out of his realm. I mean, we all know he's not a really deep ball threat,
right.
And he's more the short pass guy and everything like that. And you utilize that's where his talent is. And I don't think that the team before was utilizing him to his ability. And you just have to give credit to Belichick and his coaching staff for recognizing that and keeping him within his realm.
Absolutely. And speaking of a deep threat, Brandon Lloyd getting signed, a huge addition, 2010. I think he had over 1,000 yards, 70-plus catches, 8 touchdowns. So how does he help this Patriots team?
He definitely stretches the field for them. Definitely stretches the field. And also with that deep threat, you're also able to do a lot of underneath stuff with your tight ends where they're really strong. They probably have 2 of the best tight ends in the league. So that's really going to open it up for Gonzalez and those guys for the passes across the middle and down the sideline, utilizing the tight end for Tom Brady. So it really just opens up a whole different aspect of their passing game. I think you're going to see a lot more passing than you have been in the past with the Patriots, and I think it's a good acquisition for them.
Absolutely, and Gina, I got to give you credit. It seems that Mike is a great analyst. So you weren't just saying it because you were his husband.
I told you.
Yeah, good stuff there.
I'm glad he's on our show too. And I want to thank you for being on our show.
Oh, it was a great time and amazing opportunity, and always fun to do stuff with Atlanta. Like I told you, Gina, on my interview. Clinari Carter is our correspondent in Atlanta. I think he's listening right now. He's a great guy for anything you need. He's Ari. Can you talk a little bit about Clinari and what he's done with us?
Clinari's family. I mean, that's the best way to say it.
Clinari's family. And we're two Jewish guys here in Israel, and having a guy who's not Jewish from Atlanta, that's a big deal here. I mean, all our other correspondents, Jim Williams, Jewish. Ari Louis, Jewish.
Andy Dorf, yeah.
Andy Dorf. So Clinari is a guy who we got, I guess, late February, and since then comes on once a week, talks Hawks with us, Falcons draft, Heat. So he's a great person. Got to give him his credit. I want to ask you guys real quick. Yeah. We have about 2 minutes about your. Sorry, go ahead.
I saw his blog, and it was just amazing. So detailed.
Right. He's a great writer.
Great writer, and I'll give him a plug right now. His blog is JMC, and it's Just Make It Count, which is cool. He was an 11-year veteran in the Army. He's actually next week he's going on a conference to Washington, D.C. to kind of help with a lot of things, all the national disasters going on in America right now. And he's an amazing person. We're glad to have him. But I want to ask you guys for about 2 minutes. I want to ask you about your show that I was on because it seems like a very interesting show. You guys get a lot of listeners. And could you just give a plug, I guess, for your show and our show?
Oh, thank you so much. Well, we're on a Christian station, and I love our company, Salem Communication. It's a part of a family of Christian stations throughout the country here in the U.S. We're on Saturday afternoons, 1 to 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Right.
So you can catch us on our stream at prosportslive.com. And our show consists of sports, and we talk about lifestyle issues, which includes marriage and family, relationships, wealth planning, and it's actually, we think, appealing for everyone, not just pro athletes, but, for everyone, because sports is so universal, and it brings us all together, and we also mix in all the other topics that help us, get to know each other and connect and live.
Okay, great. And again, this is just a wonderful organization what you do regarding the players' wives, and we certainly appreciate both your time and Mike's time as well, and the analysis, of course. And we had so much fun. We'll have to do it again in the future. How does that sound?
Oh, definitely.
Hey.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you, because this is part of the family. We're Jewish.
There we go. All right.
By adoption.
All right, Gina, Mike, be well, and we'll be in touch. We'll talk to you later.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
Take care.
Thanks so much. Okay, shalom. Thank you.
Shalom. Bye-bye. All right, that was great stuff. Those are really nice people. That was really fun. It's always good to talk to good people out there.
Right. And, as you guys heard, they invited me to be on their show. My job here at the network is to book people, and I wrote them about coming on because I thought what Gina does is amazing, and Michael being a former NFL player with the Patriots, and you know how I feel about the Patriots. But then they asked me to be on their show, so that just shows what kind of people they are, and I had a great time on there, and just a really great show. Ari, I know you always do the recap of who's been on, so go for it.
Yes, we're going to wrap up tonight's show, and next week we have a whole slew of guests, most notably probably Bruce Jacobs next week. But I want to thank
Jason Stark, ESPN.
Jason Stark from ESPN. Writer. And Monday we'll have a special guest, Donald Foyle, who will be coming on the program representing the Orlando Magic.
And if I may add, Ari, interesting time for the Magic. GM's out, coach is out. Of course, we're not going to talk to him about that. But it is, I would say it's a very special thing to get an opportunity to speak with someone in the front office of the Magic, especially with all the changes going on there, because it must be really rough. He's, I think, the director of player personnel, is in charge of doing the drafting. And how do you draft without a coach and without a GM? So he deserves a lot of credit. We really appreciate his time on the show. And that'll be on Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern and 5 p.m. local time. Ari, sorry, go ahead.
And as far as the Dice Show, we want to thank Eitan Chandler coming on. He's a host out in Philadelphia, 97.5 The Fanatic. Zach Rosen, the 2012 Ivy League Player of the Year, also winner of the Spoon Award and the 1915 Award at Penn. former Oklahoma City Thunder analyst, and really all over the place. CNN Headline News, ESPN, Fox. Brent Weber for coming on the program and saying, hey, why not you? Referring to us.
Yeah.
And, of course...
And you listeners out there.
That's right. And, of course, Gina and Mike Pitts. Gina has a wonderful organization that helps players' wives hang out together and have a great community. And Mike Pitts, a former NFL player and played in the New England Patriots.
Future Israel Sports Radio NFL correspondent. Who knows?
That's right. It'd be a great job analyzing games. So stay tuned for much more programming later on in the upcoming weeks. But that's it for tonight. God bless and good night.